they are changing my voice. We are on Dionysus Part 8, and this should be a quick video. So there's 4 annual Dionysia festivals. There's poetry competitions, tragedies. There's some kind of a procession. We see that one of the themes is the awakening of nature, which was symbolized by Dionysus himself. And this is particularly true with the grape harvest when it comes to, the symbolizing of the awakening of nature. So one of the festivals has a name that's similar to anesthesia. I don't think that's a coincidence, right? Anesthetics. It's Anasteria, the Bloom Festival. Okay. You see wordplay there, right? Ant, set, airy, setting the stage, and set area. And there's all kinds of applications for that wordplay there. There was also, the festival of the jar opening, the pouring, and the pots. Okay, so you have the Bloom Festival, the jar opening, the pouring, and the pots. And there's all kinds of wordplay there as well. Okay, so Dionysus is compared to various deities in this, in the video. One is, I believe it's spelled Ningishzida, who is the Lord of the good tree. And Dionysus, again, Dios Nusa, means God of the tree. That's one of many applications of his name, right? Dios, God of Isis. Okay, and the tree happens to be, the tree where there's the snake, the tree of knowledge. And Dionysus's kind of alter ego is Apollo. We'll get into that shortly here. So this deity that starts with the N, right, was said to be a Mesopotamian deity of vegetation and the underworld, and sometimes war. He was very much associated with snakes, libation and wine, with snakes. Okay, so Dionysus is like the snake in the tree. One can argue that Dionysus and Apollo is symbolic of Apollo killing his lower self, which is Dionysus is triumphing over it. But Apollo is very much like a fairy deity, not very masculine. So they're clearly lying. It's a mistake to look at this stuff as if they're magically onto something. They're not. They're wrong. They're twisting something. They're twisting the idea of the divine Son of God, who's this Royal African Falcon martial art warrior who's triumphing over evil in the world, is overcoming the world and earning his rightful place as the Son of God. Okay, so the video doesn't go that much into detail about these deities, but if you're interested in it, I suggest you look them up or go to the video from about 40 seconds to 50 seconds. That's what we're discussing here in this part. So the Assyrian Empire was responsible for various amalgamations, combinations of deities, synchronizations. Okay, you have Damu, said to be the divine child. He's in the area as well, one way or another. Adonis is ritually mourned, Osiris, Ishman, and Attis. We also talk about the Sumerians and Ezekiel chapter 8, where the Bible mentions Tammuz, aka Dumuzi, and the rituals that involved weeping over that particular deity. They also bring up the Epic of Gilgamesh, okay, and Dionysus is said to have certain traits as opposed to Apollo's, and Apollo is said to leave during the harvest. So Dionysus' death and Apollo leaving are said to be what brings about the harvest, and this seems to be connected to the murder of Pharaoh, okay, the early Pharaoh or pharaohs, and these people who are deciding to give the people an ultimatum that if they pretend that the rulers, the cult of the emperor, Caesar, Hitler, what have you, they pretend that these guys are magically chosen, right? The Jews who worship Baal in the Bible, other people right now pretending that they're chosen, the Pope, the governing class, then magically they're able to get food and stuff like this. But there's more to it than that. The people are actually punished by the rulers for betraying the Son of God. So we look at the devil in popular culture. You get it, you make a deal with the devil, he punishes you for it, and you regret it, and so on and so forth. Okay, keep in mind that the deities aren't that important, right? When we're talking about all these deities who are connected to Dionysus, it goes on and on and on. You'll get into Indian mythology, Mesopotamian, it will go on and on and on. There's different periods of time, there's different interpretations. It's not so important. What is important to understand that these people are kind of gender neutral, like they're whitish, they're Jewishish, they're jealous of the Royal African Falcon Martial Art Order. And I bring this up because it's a key part of the story. Some people think that you should play stupid about religions and let them trick people into bed and abuse the people and to be selfish, because part of their religion is to cause people to starve to death, to control sexual behavior, to rip people off, to abuse people, to abuse children. But it's stupid to not call it as it is, okay? The skill that everyone should be using is universal pinpointing moral precision, not kissing the elite's ass or kissing people's asses and beating around the bush. So you see on the screen that Dionysus and Apollo are said to clash to some degree, but they're two aspects of the same deity. And a Harvard scientist came to the same conclusion, mind you. And I know better than he does, because I'm religious, that person's just a scientist. Okay, I'm someone who truly grasps the concept as the top martial artist ever possible, with the Falcon vision. So Apollo is a deity of plagues and medicine, right? Light, the sky order, rationality, piety, justice, hierarchy, composure, sobriety, logic, purity, prophecy, and unchangeable fate. And of course, it's knowledge and science. So notice it's the idea of putting logic first, justice. Notice that rational thinking and logic, okay, and being pious, being devout, are considered righteous and considered, greater than mere emotion. And Dionysus is just a scatterbrained fool who says to be inspired, false conceptions of equality, freedom. Again, both deities are evil, mind you. Arts and music, both deities deal in arts and music, revelry, moisture, metamorphosis, transformation, the growth of vegetation, wine, ecstasy, fate, passion, instinct, emotion, death, resurrection, salvation, eternal life. And he's said to be chthonic and dark. So as we think about what this means here, it means that they're on some fairy nonsense. Think about somebody who worships the fairy images of angels, right? They're fairy, they're nonsensical, right? Pharisees, Luciferian, fairy. And then they, try to make everybody who's not rolling with it seem evil. And they use, people from their own races as points of references, right? Might be some angry Republican or a Satanist like Anton LaVey, Michael Aquino, what have you. They use these various people as points of references, right? Goths, heavy metal people, rock and roll. And they try to make it seem like, those guys are undesirable, whether they are or not, and that the guys in suits are magically desirable. Now think about it like this. Is the pinnacle of human presentation in a suit or a fairy? No. A suit is associated with corporations, government, suppression, corruption, hypocrisy. Things going on behind the scenes that are unfair. The pinnacle, I'd say, in an outfit is probably, I know for sure in terms of what we've seen, and in terms of what is ideal of all time, is me when I was in that Kung Fu gi. I don't do Kung Fu, but it communicated righteousness, which again is greater than being a funny guy, being a wealthy guy, being a guy with a suit who seems well-mannered and has quote-unquote class. All that put together. Righteousness is greater than wealth and being funny and being friendly and personable. All that put together. So as we look at it, in order to do God justice and do justice and to do history justice and so on and so forth, we must emphasize that Apollo and Dionysus are undesirable and evil, and those spirits have plagued this planet for a long time, and millions and millions and millions and millions of people have suffered and are suffering as a result.